You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Once again, we are here today on I Am Refocused Radio. We have a special guest, just like any other time. We have a special guest. The one and only today is Sharon Seivert. She is the CEO and founder of Core Coaching and Consulting. We're going to learn everything about not just her business, but her as a person. She's not just a business person. She's also an author as well. And she has a very long resume that probably take me 30 minutes to unpack. So before I do that, I just want to say first to you, Sharon, thank you for your time. How are you doing today?
Very good. And I must say, I'm a professional musician and you have a wonderful voice. You have a wonderful voice, definitely made for these podcasts and radio. So it's something that you're easy listening.
I appreciate that. And if I tell people this all the time, I work on the 12th floor. If I heard that conversation topic every single day and got paid for it, I could retire like 5 years ago.
Exactly.
So I appreciate those kind of words coming from you. But for you, kind of share with the audience a little bit about your professional career and how did you come to the idea that I want to start Core Coaching and Consulting?
Right. Well, I have been the leader of organizations for some time. I started out in social action organizations. Actually, I ran a family planning center in the second most Catholic populated county in the United States. And there was a lot of mishigas about that. There was a lot of drama around that. And then I went from there to healthcare general, because this was a poverty program that I started with, healthcare for women. And then I went into just general healthcare, a group health plan. And we were wildly successful. We set the industry record for earliest break even for HMOs, and that record still stands. So I apparently had a little bit of a knack for doing this kind of organizing work. And from there, I went on to doing consulting for organizations about how they could do things like this, and for professionals, leaders in the organizations, and small business owners. So that's how I came to where I am now.
When you look at also on your resume, your international background, kind of touch on that, what allowed you to travel and just be able to be exposed to not just different cultures, but different ways of how business moves.
Right. I love working with people internationally. I have sort of second families in Brazil and in Ireland and in other parts of Europe and people around the world. And that to me is the absolute best, because when you work with people from other cultures, they inform you. They have different views, obviously, of the way things are, and so your understanding is augmented when that happens. When you have other people feeding you in that way and challenging you in that way. So that's to me always very exciting. I actually do have a second country citizenship. I have an Irish citizenship. So for me, to be part of the EU is a very exciting thing.
When you look at how everyone likes to talk about the economy, especially this time of the year, election season is always a hot topic. And so, one way is not as high as it could be, prior to election season. But for you as a business owner and understanding how you had to navigate through economics, what are some of the things that you've been able to learn that you try to apply to working with your clients and also for you running your business?
I think that we can create economies that with new inventions, and we can train people to be more successful entrepreneurs. A lot of people I've seen all kinds of people coming in with just magnificent ideas, and they get in their own way, and then they fail. They get themselves burned out, and they fail, and that beautiful idea that could have been this economic engine fails with them. So this is the kind of thing that we really like to help people with, is if someone has a great idea, but they sort of can't manage their way out of a paper bag. So what we do is we train them how to be more successful leaders, founders, and we have a strategic plan we have them follow from the inside out, about Why is this invention so important? Or why is this product so important? And then help them get it out into the world. And so for me, the economics is about we are generating wealth. We are generating money from the people's genius if we can just let them get out in the world.
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to our special guest today, Sharon Seivert. You can go to her website of the business, Core Coaching and Consulting. The website is corecoachingconsulting.com. Let's dive into that.
Thank you.
Because all that stuff with economics kind of set this up nicely. So let's talk about what CORE stands for: change, organic, reduce, and ease. Kind of break that down for the audience.
Yes. You're talking. You're speaking to the choir here. Now, this is why I love talking about this stuff. So there's an ancient template that's like the compass, so you can visualize this, even though you're just listening to us. But you can actually visualize that the compass has a center, which is where you're standing, and then there are these directions that you take to make you more balanced. So the core is right here where you start. This is your purpose. These are your gifts. These are the talents you're born with, and these ideas you want to bring out into the world. So when you're talking about yourself as an individual, you're talking about your organization, we want you to work from your core because that's where your brilliance is. We know that people's gifts come into them in the world. When they're born, they have these gifts that they have to provide and be jigsaw puzzles for the rest of us. Everyone has a contribution to make, really a big contribution, and we lose if someone doesn't make that. So it's important for all aspects of the world that we get that. And I do mean from around the world. So that's your core. And we know this template, this is what the ancients said is your balance. And my books are about balance, the superpower balance. So the next thing, this is something that I see that you write about, is the mindset. So once we are in the core, then we can move into what does that say about the mindset that you need to make this happen. Okay. So we have beliefs that we're handed, and we have to say, not that belief. That belief doesn't help me at all. This belief really helps me, and then I can move forward with that. So our core is tied to the beliefs. Those are aligned, and boy, we're a powerhouse then. I also see that you write about finding your passion. And then we move in terms of the mind element, we move now into that power of fire and passion. And now you have your purpose, you have your gifts, you have your core, and now we got to act. We can't sit there thinking about this. Now we have to move into action. And then the fourth step in my system is that now you have from action to interactions. Who's going to help you? Who believes in you? Who is going to support you? Who's going to be your customers? Who's going to be on your team? And then everyone is aligned on getting that mission out there in the world. And then, oh my Lord, the organization's going great. And then that fifth element is about the structure. We make sure that this is structured so you're going to succeed. So it's step by step, day to day, action to action, we get things done. And the final thing is the whole that holds all of those powers together. And they are coordinated. So every one of these can help the other. My core should inform our relationships. My mission should inform the way I act day to day. On and on. We want these to be aligned. And then things get easy. They're very, very hard otherwise, but they get much easier if we have this kind of alignment. And this is what I try to bring to people everywhere. I just got a call before we got on the line, and I had to someone who's just started coaching with me, and she called to say, it's like a miracle. Everybody's nicer to me now. And I'm going, I think it probably has a lot to do with your being nicer to everybody there. But these are the changes that we can see in the world, with adopting this template that's native to all of us. Everywhere in the world, there is this system available to people, from the Mayans to people in Japan to people in Europe and Africa, all around the world. This template lives for us about how to be balanced and whole.
And there's a key word that I like what you said, and that's alignment, because when we think of alignment, as our audience tuning into this conversation, automatically we're thinking like, okay, systems. How do we have systems? How do we have not just a routine, but a routine that's actually effective? Kind of break that down a little bit further detail. When you work with your clients to discover systems that work best for them and their situation, how do you go about trying to fine tune those systems based on their needs?
Well, every person walks in with a whole different set of needs. And so I largely am listening very carefully to what they need, to what they have to offer, for what they're ready to do. Because people are in different states of readiness. Like the woman who called me earlier today, she was right. I mean, she walked in and she was just ready to change. Anything needed to be changed. And some people just take longer, and they've had maybe more trauma, and they're reluctant to leap, or they're more analytical. I live in the Boston area. I'm always dealing with really analytical people, and so they have to really almost believe before they act. So people are very, very different that way. So my role is to hold the center for them, to hold that core for them, and then they will come to their answers. But that's what I have to do for them is hold that sacred, safe place for them so they can make decisions, and no one's going to be criticizing them. We're going to work together to make it happen. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and that actually leads me to a follow-up question.
Sure.
When people are thinking about sustainable change. So once they start the process, okay, we have this next phase or chapter that we're trying to maintain this new success that we are trying to achieve or keep going. Because it's one thing to hit a home run, then, you strike a couple times next and you kind of give up, or you kind of say, no, we have this new thing that we did with Sharon, so let's sustain this success now. How do you teach them to understand that life happens, you might strike out, but that doesn't mean you stop playing the game?
Right. Part of holding that sacred space for people is also holding their hope and my belief in them. One of the gifts that I have is I can see people's gifts. I see what they're capable of doing. And I used to go into the urban center here in Boston, and we would have programs for kids. So when I first discovered that I could kind of look at a young person, and I just had a sense about what they could do in the world. And I would reflect that back to them. Well, you would have thought I was a fairy godmother with little fairy dust. I mean, they would just shine under that. And so part of what I want for people and that I hold for people is honest to God, I can see and I can believe in what they can do. And so for me, I try to hold them in that so that they don't get too discouraged, because we're going to get knocked about. I mean, things aren't going to come in on time, or the bridesmaid in that job interview, not the bride, and all of those things happen. But it is inevitable that you will succeed if you keep going. I was once on an airplane with a woman who started talking with me about the fact, and I discovered that she had been a very, very young girl and knew Einstein when he was in Princeton, I believe that's where they were. And they were both refugees from the Nazis, and they both came away. And he once said to her, my dear Friedel, I'm not nearly as smart as people think I am. I just stay at a problem longer than anybody else. Now, to me, that I think answers your question. It's that persistence, the support that helps us persist, because by our own, gosh, it's hard to persist. But in community, which I try to build, or in power partnerships, like with the coaching and consulting, we can make sure that the people succeed. We're just not going to let them go until they succeed. But you need that kind of support, because it's hard, really, really hard otherwise.
Yeah, it's I Am Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Sharon Seivert. Go to her website, founder and CEO of Core Coaching and Consulting. Go to corecoachingconsulting.com. When it comes to organic, natural, easy to understand principles and all that jazz. I mean, I love the fact that you say you like music early in the show because I love music myself. And I think music is powerful and special because no matter what genre you are into, no matter if the song is fast tempo, slow tempo, or mid tempo, the beauty of music is that it's an expression. So when it comes to expressing ourselves and our core mission day to day in the office or out of office, what are some of the ways you try to teach your clients about just being organic with their growth, both professionally and personally, in order to have a real lasting impact?
I think that since we're both musicians, it's sort of like when a person strikes that tone, that their soul echoes into the world, they have fulfilled their purpose. So whatever the work is less important, whatever form the work takes, is that they are truly themselves in the world. There's a phrase called self-actualization that Abraham Maslow talks about, which is the pinnacle, he described, of human experience. So we can do a lot of achieving, and a lot of people I work with, they've done a lot of achieving. They've made their money, they've accomplished the things they said, but they're still feeling kind of empty. And that's because of the core or the soul tone. They have to do that in the world. And I think you can think of it just as a gong that sounded or as a note that's played on an instrument. We want the songs to not die inside you. I think what a poet once said is that you need to live so that the songs come out of you. And music is a great way to say that because sound is like the most original. It's pre-language. So the sound we have, the song we have inside us must be sung, or we're unhappy. We're and we're not doing what everyone else in the world needs from us.
I like that because in a world where everyone is chasing the next fad, the next just take this subscription and you're going to be a gazillionaire, or, just scroll through social media and I'm going to buy this thing, buy that thing. We are in modern times of a rat race. I remember growing up where like a lot of stuff was kind of like not there. We didn't have social media feeds and timelines. We were playing basketball, until the street light came on and, you actually went outside, got fresh air. So it's a little different. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying sometimes we forget to live because we feel like, not all of us, disclaimer, but some of us feel like we must outdo someone else or we must do this, but we do it so much. By the time we do it, we don't have no energy or we don't have any balance. We don't have any way to look back on our life and say, am I actually enjoying life?
Right. And there's a couple different ways of enjoying life. The Greeks talked about two different forms of happiness. And one was hedonic happiness, which is that you have a great meal, you're hanging out with your friends, it's pleasure, okay? And then there's something they called eudaimonic happiness, which is EU and then daimonic happiness. And it means indwelling spirits, that there's a spirit inside you. And if you fulfill your purpose, it's your purpose-driven happiness. If you do that, your goal. Now, what I want from my people is both of those things. I mean, make sure you have enough to eat and drink and you get your sleeping, you're happy that way and you like the clothes you're wearing or whatever it is, that's fine.
Did you get toilet paper?
Yeah, and absolutely. But whenever whenever the next strike is on. What happens though is that there's different parts of the brain that light up with each one of these kinds of happiness. And the eudaimonic happiness is what you're talking about, being focused on your purpose and your passion and fulfilling that tone, that song inside you that we talk about. This is who you are.
People understand that when they listen to shows like this or anybody else that's on their playlist, they don't want to just be educated and be like goosebump, like, wow, that was inspirational. They want to act. They tune in because they want to take action. They want to make that shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to making that shift from where you used to be, the old you, the old this, the old that. That was chapter 1. We're on chapter 25 now. At what point, you as a CEO, did you have a personal shift in your life that allowed you to kind of help others to kind of find that rhythm or dance where it's like, okay, this is the time for me to maybe shift my thoughts, shift my habits, shift who I am as a person in order for me to fulfill my potential?
Right. I've had several of those, but the one that, popped into my mind when you were talking was a completely transformative, life-altering one, which is when my brother John died in an accident. And my whole family changed who they were and what they were doing. It was one of those, lightning bolt moments that come through and have you think about and examine everything. And I think that happens to a lot of people when they themselves have a near-death experience, or when someone in their family is harmed, or when someone has a bad disease, or when they lose a job. Those are the kinds of life-rendering moments which actually could open us up to total transformation. And that one did for me. I changed my life. I was then at the group health plan. We were doing great. And I decided I was going to leave and do my music for a while. I literally was going to pick up sticks. And that's what I did. And I did the music and I did writing. I became a writer afterwards because of that. And I developed these new ideas, these very old ideas in new language, to talk about health, personal health, individual health, that you're in charge of. This is your self-healing, it's your organization's self-healing. And that seems to be a very good purpose for me. That's my gift to the world.
That leaves me as like a slam dunk. You threw me out. I'm about to ball and put in the hoop, man. So my next question is, part of your core is reduce.
Say that again.
Part of your core is reduce. And there's a lot of things that can distract a person based on whatever their kryptonite is. It could be cookies. It could be just scrolling through social media. It can be just whatever you pick, whatever you want to distract yourself with. But the point is everywhere. When it comes to how you help clients understand how they can reduce those distractions, maybe it's just bad habits. You talk about trauma, that's another distraction. Mm-hmm. What are some strategies that you've been able to use to have them kind of take that next step to how can I prevent myself from getting caught up to things that might distract me from valuable time?
Well, part of what I do is I continue the call to the quest that brought the people to me. In other words, I remind them of why we're here and why we're together. Number 2 is I think I have a lot of compassion for people's foibles, that of course, you're going to be distracted. Of course, you're going to have a bad day. As in Mama said, there'd be days like this, right? So, and that's just normal. And then we get on with it. So I try to, I guess, maybe normalize this journey that we are all on. I believe that we are all evolving as a species, although there are days that you would call me a liar for saying that. But I do believe in general, we are evolving as a species. We are, we are learning how to become kinder. We are learning how to become wiser. So as part of that journey, I'm on that road. The people I work with are on that road. You're on that road. The listeners out there, you're on that road. And together in community, I think is maybe one of the best things I can do with people. I have a community of leaders and we meet, every week and they help each other out. So that's another thing that we do is developing the community so that it is the intention of the community is to help each other grow. That's very, very powerful because they look at each other and they go, well, yeah, that happened to me and this is what I did. This is how I dealt with it. And so we are moving along. We are helping people move along faster, more assuredly. No one's going to be left behind when we do this in community.
I know this is a curveball, but only if politicians spoke that way, I think more people would be on board. But
yeah. Now you need to understand. I come from a really intense political background. You do not want to push that button and get me started on politics. So, for all the listeners out there with different views, don't get me started.
We can probably have another interview on that maybe in the future. But my last thing is, when it comes to ease, that's part of your core.
Yes.
When you look at how leaders cultivate a culture of flow, how do you understand, based on your own experience, that how we flow and how we choose to flow intentionally can affect not just our influence, but how we lead?
Yes. So I consider ease in my description and in my books to be part of synergy. And ease is that what happens when we have more balance. More balance and less imbalance, more ease and less dis-ease. So we need to be very honest with ourselves about the fact that I'm not comfortable here. I'm not at ease. I'm resisting this task. I'm not having it. I'm crabby today. I'm whatever it is. So I'm out of balance. So when you do those self-assessments, you're going to be able to course correct. You're going to be able to heal yourself. So part of it's that honesty. Part of it's having people be honest with you. We can't stay much time in self-pity or complaining. We have to get on the road and get these things done. So that thing between ease versus dis-ease, more and more and more in ease means more and more and more flow. And that then helps us get up to the next level and evolve.
I liked how you said course correct and to be honest, because I feel like those are two things that allows you to shift, especially when you're trying to grow and expand and to just build yourself personally, because how you build yourself personally affects you professionally. And it's almost like we're in rehearsal in our lives. And then when we're actually on stage, it's only emphasizing what we have done or not done personally. Right. So self-development, self-awareness is always been a theme on this show with guests. That plays a role in for a person to be honest with themselves and to align into the course. I got the words I use, but realignment and recoursing to where we need to be with our mission and us as a person.
Very, very much so.
Last question I have you, because I know I could be a little bit longer, is as we wrap this up, someone who's listening right now, maybe they're a seasoned CEO, leader in their business, or they're, leader in their job, or what have you, some kind of leadership role they're in. If they can take one thing from you, from your business, what your business stands for, what do you hope people can grasp after this, listening to this episode, and how can they take action starting today?
So I'm speaking to the emerging leaders of the future. I want leadership to become more holistic. Holistic from the standpoint of you are a person with a soul, a will, a mind, emotions, a body, and you live in an environment. And that is true of everyone you lead. And so what you need to do is hold the space for everyone to grow. If you're a holistic leader, you are holding not only the space for your own growth, but very strongly standing in the center, that sacred center, holding the space for everyone so they can self-heal, so they can grow. And healing actually is, and organizational health is actually the big advantage for organizations of the future. So if leaders can see themselves simultaneously as self-healers and hold the space for others, it's going to be wonderful for everyone in that group.
You've been listening to Refocused Radio, and we've been talking to our special guest, Sharon Seivert. You go to her website. It is corecoachingconsulting.com. Again, that's corecoachingconsulting.com. coreconsulting.com. She is the founder, CEO of Core Coaching and Consulting. Say that 20,000 times fast as you can. Not slow, fast as you can. And you're breaking the challenge.
And let me add that there's a free leader report that people can get if they want to follow up on this and move into action as you urge them to do.
Hey, this is proof in the pudding, man. You can have bumps in the road, but as long as you keep driving, you're going to be okay. So once again, I want to say thank you to our guest today for not just her time, but just the wisdom that she shared on the show. We've been talking to Sharon Seivert. Once again, if you had anything you want to give to our audience, if there's any events or books or anything you want to plug, what's some resources that they can appreciate from you?
Oh, please go to our website. We have free reports, we have articles, and we also have every month we have a free event that anyone in the world can tune into, and we just give our information to people. So that's really always fun. And so please contact us and take what you can from our website and our the information that we have out there in the world.
Well, like always, I want to say to you, Sharon Seivert, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really had a good time.